the House of August. Now the question is, most recent there have been lots of sports on the sport rather for various members of this August House. Now the question is the demeanor, the decorum of these members still up to standard to be honored, as the reference does call? But thereafter we'll also be looking at weather, nature, but also taking a glimpse into what's on the roads, and of course crowning it all up, Robert will come with a topical discussion in the GMU agenda, and later on Ruben Mpima will be giving us updates in sports. But of course in the hour of 10, between 9 and 10, we'll be having a Sema Jagenda Zikusoka, the man with the afro. I think he's the only man left with the afro in Uganda. We don't see many of them.
And I think
no wonder we're talking about talking about the same with Ruben and him, that we want to archive him into the museum probably for
just look for UPC diehards. You'll find that there are many there.
Yeah, but we are still negotiating with him to put the line. There's that line my grandfather had on his wedding. But the millennials will never understand such things. No wonder I see Mollen look at me like, okay.
The way you always talk about millennials, someone would think Felix is like 50 years. This guy is just a small portion of the millennials.
Hey!
But when you put yourself out of that, I'm like, come on.
Thunder come to you. Me to be part of millennials. Anyway, Robert, let's take a look at what's in the local story.
He has lived. You find some time out of work, discuss about him, he'll tell you when they captured Kampala, where he was.
Robert knows
you see, if someone is hiding age, just try some conversation, you know. Where were you when this government? Then you'll hear, I was here, then you know, okay. Don't bother asking age. So the times I've interacted with Felix, Felix yanyumiza otawora 7 in enzikiriza. Let's continue.
God forgive Robert. God forgive Robert. But anyway, let's take a look at our local stories with Bob.
And we kick it off with having discipline and how best we can handle indisciplined members of parliament if found by the different committees of the House. Now, a section of members of parliament want government to halt, that is the implementation of the parish development model, until the public is well prepared on how it will work. Legislators say there are pending queries on policy mindset and qualification of local council officials at parish level that are meant to manage the funds. The concern was raised during the food and nutrition training by a non-state actor, Action Against Hunger, at Imperial Resort Hotel in Entebbe. A hotel room at Imperial Resort Hotel in Entebbe turned rowdy with arguments from members of parliament of the Food and Nutrition Committee as they questioned the Commissioner for the Ministry of Local Government over the parish development model. MPs said the public has not been well prepared for effectively receiving the parish development model funds. Others raised questions over the policy that put in place parish development model, the disparities on the number of villages in parish, and qualification of personnel at parish level. Left with only 1 week to official launching of the development initiative by President Yoweri Museveni, the MPs want government to extend the implementation until all gaps are fixed. The commissioner in charge of local council development said most of the concerns of MPs will be addressed before the implementation kicks off next financial year.
Move over to Old Tax Pack unrest. Now, the State Minister, Parliament Reporting Affairs, Kabuye Cholifa Togavye, the Executive Director, KCCA, Engineer Dorothy Chisaka, and the Lord Mayor, Salongo Elias Rukwago, have clarified on the split plots at Old Tax Pack that left certain stages removed from the park. Now, on 60th January this year, the Minister for Kampala, Hajat Minsa Kabanda, officially opened the taxi park to public after a long period of refurbishment to put it to standards. However, in less than a month since its operation, there has been running battles over the rightful owners of the property between the claimants and KCCA to have it developed. Now, recently, businessmen claiming ownership of the plots occupying stages that included Gaba, Munyonyo, Salama, Buziga, Ntinda, and Namugongo, Chisasi, among others, ordered the taxis to vacate their plots amid its protection by Uganda police, leaving many taxi operators wondering. Now, in assurance of their move to own their plots, yesterday taxi operators who tried defying their orders were heavily arrested. The unrest over ownership has left the entire country questioning the fracas. Now, UBC TV has sought more information pertaining the lawful owners of the property in controversies from concerned parties for clarity. Now, the State Minister for Kampala Metropolitan Affairs, Kabuye Chiofa-Togabye, says 13 businessmen own plots in the park despite government's efforts to renovate it. Dorothy Chisaka, the executive director at KCCA, laments that the city tycoons ran to courts of order over the issue of ownership and injunction was made. However, they reached an agreement.
Away from matters of the old tax park, we now go to courts of law, where the legal team representing city lawyer Hassan Male Mabirizi has asked court to set him free pending the appeal applications he filed in court to defend himself. Mabirizi wants court to crush the decision and order the High Court, including compelling him to pay a fine of 300 million. The High Court ruling warned Hassan Mabirizi against disrespecting judicial officers to pay 300 million fine. But Judge Musa Sekanas ordered Mabirizi Male to be arrested and remanded to Kitala government prison for contempt of court. Hassan Male Mabirizi, the convict who was unable to attend in person in court proceedings with his appeal, was represented by counsel Isaac Semakade. Semakade informed court that Mabirizi's arrest was infringing on his rights because he had also gone to court challenging this. According to Semakade, High Court's decision of arresting Mabirizi for 18 months was illegal since the accused did not get a fair right for trial. Semakade prayed to court to release Mabirizi so that he can defend the case he filed in court. The Attorney General's office was represented by Patricia Motesi.
Still in Parliament, Parliamentary Rules Committee has started investigations into allegations against Mityana Municipality Legislator Francis Zake. 4 MPs, including Badege Layibi Division, Martin Mapenduzi Busia Municipality MP Geoffrey Macho, Buyende Woman MP Mary Nakato, and Jonathan Ebialu kicked off the investigations. The 4 have appeared before Parliamentary Committee on Rules, Privileges and Discipline, chaired by Bugweri County MP Abdu Katuntu, and presented the formal complaints accusing MP Francis Zake for insulting the Deputy Speaker Anita Among. Mapenduzi submitted that the words used by Zake on his Twitter account to attack the Deputy Speaker were unparliamentary and dented the integrity and the sanctity of Parliament. The committee members put Mapenduzi to task to prove whether the said account belongs to MP Francis Zake. However, Mapenduzi was quick at conceding that he could not clarify whether the account belongs to the accused member, but put it to Zake to deny. Now, when asked on whether the sarcastic statements by the Speaker could have pushed Zake to make such a statement, Mapenduzi defended the Speaker among submission. The chairperson of the committee, Abdu Katuntu, rejected the request by Mapenduzi and his colleagues to recommend for the censure of Zake from the position of the backbench commissioner.
Well, now crossing over international stories, we'll be looking at our first story again about Russia. Now, UN Chief Antonio Guterres has dismissed Russia's plan to send troops to eastern Ukraine as not peacekeepers at all. The Western nations imposed stinging sanctions against Moscow, including measures that would aim to starve the country's finances. Now, Guterres also said Russia's move to recognize the 2 separatist regions in eastern Ukraine violated the country's territorial integrity and sovereignty and called for an immediate ceasefire. Now, we need restraint and reason. He said we need to de-escalate now, announcing what he said was the first stretch of sanctions targeting Russia, Soviet debt, financial institution and allies. The US President Joe Biden said Russia's deployment of troops amounted to the beginning of an invasion against Ukraine. Now, prosecutor offers choose to do nothing as George Floyd died. Now, the 3 police officers sat by and chose to do nothing when their colleague knelt on George Floyd's neck, leading to his death in Minneapolis, Minnesota in May 2020. A United States federal court prosecutor said during the closing arguments in their trial. The prosecutor, Manda Satich, on Tuesday singled out each of the former police officers Tao Thiao, Alexander Kyog, and Thomas Lane as the government wrapped up its case in the month-long trial. Kyog knelt on Floyd's back. Thomas Lane held his legs. Tao kept bystanders back. They made the choice not to upset their colleagues rather than to do their duty. Back into Africa, explosion reportedly kills 59 near Burkina Faso gold mine. An explosion near the gold mine site in southwestern Burkina Faso has killed 59 people, injured more than 100 others. According to witnesses and the national broadcaster, the explosion, which happened on Monday, was believed to have been caused by chemicals used to treat gold stocked at the site. Now, provisional toll was provided by regional authorities following the blast in the village of, that is, Gombora. And the reports also say that they saw, individuals saw bodies where everywhere. It was horrible. Sensenbua, a forest ranger who was at the site during the explosion, told the Associated Press by phone.
Now over to China, we talk climate change, where COVID-19 shutdown linked to record rainfall in China. Now scientists say that a rapid drop in emissions because of COVID-19 played a key role in record rainfall.
To fire outbreaks.
Hundreds of people died and millions more were evacuated during a summer of record rainfall, but long-term cuts in emissions are unlikely to trigger similar events. Many parts of Eastern China,
Yeah, the first one.
flooding in June and July 2020, as researchers say the reduction in emissions contributed about 1/3 of the extreme summer rain. The Yangtze River saw the heaviest rainfall since 1961, with a 79% in June and July, compared to the average for the period of the previous 41 years. A number of scientific studies have looked at what caused the flooding events, some pointing to extreme conditions in the Indian Ocean. Now an international team has put forward a new theory. They argue that the abrupt reduction in emissions of greenhouse gases and aerosols was caused by shutdowns during COVID-19 pandemic and was a key cause of the intense downpours.
Clearly, much is still happening now internationally, but of course, sadly, the story of Ukraine and Russia is one of those stories that do cause fear up till today. Whether or not this has been felt to be dealt with by the international community, we still stand questioning this. But of course we expect, because we know that because of this there will be much bloodshed, if not already happening now, because the powers who call themselves superpowers have already threatened to take action. And of course the repercussion is the same, is that we have a hovering third world war onto our heads. We are waiting to see what this turns out into, but sadly we pray that not people's lives are lost amidst all these clashing